All right, I'm back. Um, we're gonna have to back a little bit. I went back and reviewed um my recording earlier. I noticed that a lot of that stuff that I was recording didn't have the volume, especially for the episodes. So I'm gonna go back. We'll have to most likely do Arlon Park and all that again too. I didn't realize that it didn't hear me. No biggie. We'll just go back because at the end of the day, had we been doing every episode like I wanted to do originally, we wouldn't have been nowhere near where we at right now. So that's all right there. Whew, excuse me. So this gonna see if this line that I created is the new support or if it's gonna break below that. And let's see here, something like that. And then the other one would be gold. Gold would be like in here if it went below that. Whew, excuse me. Yep. Oh, yeah, micro gold. Okay. 250s. All right, I'm at 49, 650 basically. Well, and then if it doesn't break, comes back up here, then we'll get back in too. Hmm. All right, all right, all right. So while we're waiting, oh, me. Dang. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. So while I'm doing this, you know what I'm gonna do? Because I think too another reason why I kept having that issue earlier is because I kept going back and forth. One second. Put y'all on me. Okay. All right. All right. So since I got that, I'll put the backups over here. Kinemon. Bam, 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 bam. Down, 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 down. Okay, so for something like this, actually, that's not bad. 237 for five. That's not bad. I'm trying to see what it would be. So I'll be using the numbers on TradingView to see what I'm risking and everything like that. Instead of having to use like a risk calculator and all of that stuff. But that's a decent stop loss. We just got to get it to break the level. Something like this Viper strategy, which is typically like a 1 to 2.5. I do 10 on it. Oh, I didn't. I actually. So gold has been going up since kind of basically like August 20th. 8 trading days. It's been going up. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some retracement before possibly continuing up, most likely following the trend line. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is up. But you know what? I'll keep it just in case. Because again, I am more of a breakout trader. So when I see breakouts of formation and patterns, that's when I typically get in. I work on waiting for the market to tell me what it wants to do, basically. All right. So I'm looking at gold and euro right now. Okay, I will come back to this. This might be promising right now. Hmm. Yeah, it came. It gapped up, and it tried to keep going up, but it just couldn't. Tried again, it couldn't. Trying that, and it just every time it's getting lower and lower and lower. Not to say that it can't gain enough strength here and keep going, or come down to here and get enough strength and keep going, but right now it's looking like it's having issues getting higher than here right now. RSI looks like it's coming down to peak, peaks. Yeah, come in. Hold on, let me put y'all on mute. All right, y'all, I'm back. Talking to my little nephews and nieces. Oh, I'm on the wrong time. Like, why is. All right, so this. Come back to Micro Z's. It could, I mean, but you never know. RSI, just because it's RSI looking like this, I've had plenty of times where I'm like, oh, the RSI is at the bottom, and I'm gonna get the dropping, come up a little bit, drop, and I'll be like, dang. Really, what I'm looking for, like I said, is that clear, a strong candle continuing down, breaking this previous level where these other ones couldn't quite get past. Here, as you can see, here, as you can see, and here again. But this time it looks like it's going to break through. And then, like I said, if I once I do this one, what's this, a 5-minute candle? If I come over here to the 5, then that means my stop loss will be right above those candles. And let's say I get in like right here. Say I'm waiting on the price to drop a 20, let's say even 20. And move that. Boom. Right there is, that's what I will be looking for. And then I will be going for around 50 pips or ticks. I always say pips because I started in Forex, so I always say pips. They're the same thing, just different name to say a unit of measurement, pretty much how I equate it. See what I mean? See that? Boop, boop, boop. And even then, Musk has still come down, retrace back up here to the level, and then continue down or continue up. It stuck me out. Or stop me out, I should say. Well, I think while I'm waiting on this, we can get back into the episodes. Let me just switch over here so I can keep an eye on it, and I had to keep going back and forth as much to help with the service. Actually, I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna use what's that helicopter out there? Actually, I gotta save this. That's why this isn't on here. There we go. There we go. And then 10 would be 210. $250. That's not bad. $250 for 12 of them. That. See, like stuff like this happen or break down, then come up. Oh, I hope it ain't too loud. I forgot. It shouldn't be too loud if y'all hear some music in the background. Yeah, so
treasure map and kept it for himself. He later learns from Shanks that the pirates have also looted a devil fruit from the ship. Buggy planned to steal the fruit, escape the crew, and sell both the fruit and the map. Buggy ate a fake devil pirates while he kept the real one for himself. However, just before he was able to leave with the fruit, he was caught by Shanks, causing him to accidentally eat the fruit. Buggy also lost the treasure map as the map overboard. Buggy, who permanently lost the ability to swim, was unable to recover the map, foiling his plans of defecting from the pirates, starting his own crew. He would need to wait another 10 years to accrue the wealth needed to start his own crew. In the present day, Buggy spots Nami attempting to leave with his treasure. Using Bara Bara Festival, Buggy splits himself up into several pieces and attempts to seize his stolen treasure. Luffy comes to her aid, striking him down. Buggy attempts to reassemble himself, but Nami restrains many of his body parts with rope, leaving Buggy much smaller. Luffy then strikes the weakened Buggy with Gomu Gomu no Bazooka, sending him flying into the air and out of the town. Nami gives Luffy the map of the Grand Line while she keeps the rest of Buggy's treasures. She agrees to temporarily sail with the crew as an opportunity to acquire bellies. Meanwhile, the citizens of Orange Town, who had evacuated to the outskirts due to Buggy's invasion, grow increasingly concerned for their mayor's safety and decide to return to the town. However, as the group were the only pirates left in the town, they are incorrectly blamed for the destruction of the town. Luffy flees from the angry citizens. Chaozu, aware of the crew's true intentions, stops the mob, allowing them to head to the pier to escape. Back in the town, Boodle wakes up and finds that the Buggy pirates have been successfully repelled from the town. He goes to the pier to thank the group as they depart. To Nami's horror, Luffy leaves her treasures behind so the citizens could fund repairs for the town. The crew, who lack a ship adequate for the Grand Line, decide to stop by Syrup Village, a small island in the south, in search of a better ship. In Syrup Village, the town prankster fools the townspeople into thinking pirates have come to attack the village.
Yeah,
the townspeople chase him out of town.
Missed like an
However,
hour's worth
one of the
stuff.
children in Usopp's pretend pirate crew inform him that pirates have indeed arrived at the island. The Usopp pirates go to the coast to confront the crew.
But it's cool.
Usopp attempts to intimidate and repel them from the island, but all attempts fail as Luffy sees through each of his ploys. Luffy deduces that Usopp is the son of Yasopp, one of the people on Shanks' crew. After stopping at a local restaurant for food, they decide to go to the large mansion on top of the hill to ask its owners for financial support. The lady of the mansion, Kaya, is being protected by her butler, Klahadore, following her parents' deaths. Despite Usopp being the only person to make her happy, Klahadore bars him from entering the mansion due to his reputation as a delinquent. Still, Usopp sneaks into the mansion and speaks with Kaya. The crew follow him and sneak into the mansion, but Klahadore confronts them for trespassing. In the outskirts of the town, A peculiar man emerges, moonwalking down the
I
road.
like how
Klahadore confronts
Japanese
the crew,
cultures,
refusing their request for a
like
ship.
the people,
Redirecting his
and
rage
they
at
add them
Usopp,
in there.
he insults
So
Usopp for his pirate
they
father,
might
calling him a barbaric, lowly criminal. Usopp angrily attacks Klahadore. In response, Klahadore expels Usopp and the crew from the front yard, ordering them to never return. Kaya remains in her bedroom and cries, and Klahadore enters to console her. He explains his past and the reasoning behind his protection of her. After being expelled from the ship he was working on, he was left derelict in Syrup Village. Kaya's father kindly accepted him into his mansion, and he dedicated himself to servitude for Kaya's family. After Kaya's parents passed away, Klahadore decided to become her guardian and protect her from harm, including Usopp, whom he considers to be a bad influence on her. Kaya forgives Klahadore for his harsh handling of the situation. Zoro and Nami remain on the outskirts of town with the children. One of the children discovers the strange moonwalking man and alerts the others. The man introduces himself as a hypnotist. He demonstrates his skills by hypnotizing the children with a chakram on a string, causing the children to fall asleep. However, he accidentally hypnotizes himself, causing him to fall asleep as well. Usopp and Luffy sit on a cliff, where they discuss Usopp's father, Yasopp. However, they find Klahadore, who is privately meeting with the hypnotist, Django, at the base of the cliff. To their horror, they find that Klahadore was really Captain Kuro of the Black Cat Pirates. Kuro and Django intended to assassinate Kaya to inherit her wealth, as Django could hypnotize Kaya into changing her will. They reveal that Kuro escaped Marine pursuit by sending a look-alike of him to the Marines for execution. Django reveals that the Black Cat Pirates ship was stationed at the island, ready to invade the village. Kuro and Django spot Luffy and Usopp overhearing their conversation. Django hypnotizes Luffy asleep, causing him to fall headfirst off the cliff. They decide not to pursue Usopp, knowing the townspeople would not believe him if he spoke out. Usopp flees toward the village. Nami and Zoro head to the cliff to look for Luffy. They discover Luffy at the base of the cliff, and they head to the bottom of the cliff to wake him up unharmed. Luffy reveals to them Klahadore's malicious intents. Usopp runs to the village to alert others about the incoming attack, but the townspeople refuse to believe him, contrasting him to Klahadore, whom they trust more. The townspeople chase Usopp out of the town. Usopp then goes to Kaya's mansion to warn her about the danger, but she also does not believe him, believing it to be an unusually cruel joke. Usopp attempts to escort Kaya out of the building, but is faced against the mansion guards. Although Usopp fights the guards, Kaya refuses to leave, hitting Usopp across the face. One of Kaya's butlers, Mary, shoots Usopp in the arm, and the townspeople continue to pursue him. Meanwhile, Kuro meets with his crew at their ship stationed at the island. He orders them to destroy the entire village the next day. Usopp and the children meet at the outskirts of the village. The children express their disappointment in Usopp for lying as they leave. The crew agree to fight alongside Usopp to defend Syrup Village from the Black Cat Pirates. The crew prepare for the incoming attack. As the only entrance to the village is a single sloped path at the island's south end, they stand guard at the pathway to prevent the Black Cat Pirates from entering. They cover the slope with slippery oil to prevent them from walking up the path. Kuro, still disguised as Klahadore, returns to Kaya's mansion, where Kaya is already asleep and Mary tending to his duties. Kuro finds a gift Kaya got for him, a pair of glasses custom made for him so they would not slip off his nose. Kuro destroys the pair of glasses, revealing his true self to Mary, revealing a set of long blades attached to his fingers like cat claws. He slices Mary down before heading to Kaya's bedroom to watch her sleep. Morning arrives, and as planned, the Black Cat Pirates led by Django dock at the island. However, Usopp forgets that there is a second entrance to the village at the island's north end, through which the Black Cat Pirates decided to use instead. Nami, Luffy, and Usopp rush to the north end, whereas Zoro is trapped by the south entrance's slippery slope. As Zoro continues to struggle to climb the slope, Luffy gets lost while attempting to reach the north coast. Arriving at the north end and using his slingshot, Usopp strikes down many of the advancing Black Cat Pirates. Usopp attempts to bribe the pirates away using the treasures on the crew's ship, but Nami arrives and stops them. Undeterred, the Black Pirates continue their advances onto the island, and Nami and Usopp are unable to stop them. However, Luffy and Zoro arrive just in time to stop them. Kuro notices his crew is late entering the village. He decides to personally head down to the north coast, vowing to kill his entire crew if his plan were to go wrong. The children attempt to enter Kaya's mansion to check on her, but Usopp's secret entrance had been sealed and they cannot climb the gates. Inside the mansion, Kaya exits her bedroom to find a wounded Mary on the floor. Mary reveals that Usopp had been telling the truth and Klahadore was indeed a pirate attempting to assassinate Kaya for her family fortune. As the
like 10
invading Black
years or
Cat
some
pirates
shit.
find
He had
themselves
killed her
unable to fight
parents
off Luffy and Zoro,
and was
Django
shooting her
hypnotizes
poison.
them
That's
to
why she
increase
was
their
in the
strength.
bed sick
The
all
newly
the time.
hypnotized combatants become far stronger, shattering cliffs with a single punch. However, Django accidentally hypnotizes Luffy in the process, who with his strength enhanced, defeats the Black Cat pirates, then tears off the bow of the Black Cat pirates' ship. Django hypnotizes Luffy asleep and Luffy collapses, but the bow also falls and crushes the enemy pirates. As a last-ditch effort to penetrate the crew's defenses, Django summons the Nyaban brothers, Sham and Buchi, who had been watching over the ship. Although the Nyaban brothers initially appear weak and cowardly, they use this as an act to catch Zoro off guard. Sham takes 2 of Zoro's katanas, leaving him to defend himself with a single
He let
sword.
them people
Usopp
die.
attempts to shoot them with a slingshot but misses, hitting Zoro instead and allowing the Nyaban brothers to slash his chest. Nami attempts to retrieve Zoro's katanas but is stopped by Django, who slices her in the shoulder with his chakram. To the horror of the Black Cat pirates, Kuro arrives at the coast, frustrated with the setbacks to the operation. Django and the rest of the Black Cat pirates are terrified by him, including Sham. He can't believe that his former crew was held back by a bunch of children. He asks Django for an explanation. Django reminds Kuro, who said letting Usopp go would not cause any problems. Kuro said that he knew that Usopp would try in vain to stop the Black Cat pirates from invading Syrup Village since no one would believe him, but the one thing he didn't count on was the weakness of his crew. This remark made Sham and Buchi very mad. They remembered Kuro as a strong killer and said they were sinking ships and vanquishing pirate crews while Kuro lived the good life. They accused him of becoming weak. They go straight to him, hoping to kill him. Django tries to warn them, but it was no use. Before they could deal him a blow, he suddenly disappeared, and reappeared moments later behind them with his cat claws gloves on his hands. It surprised even Zoro. They tried to attack him again, but he disappeared one more time. Django recognized this move as the Nukiashi technique, Kuro's trademark attack. He reappeared behind Sham and Buchi again, with his claw like knives pointing at them. Even Nami is impressed by this, as the Nyaban brothers nearly defeated Zoro. This silent technique is so powerful, not even a group of 50 assassins could stop Kuro. Django knew he hasn't lost that attack by the way he always lifted his glasses to avoid being cut by his cat claw gloves. Nami managed to get up despite her wound. Kuro gave his crew 5 minutes to kill Zoro. Otherwise, he will kill them all. Sham and Buchi go straight to Zoro to kill him. Django encourages them to stop him. Nami kicks the 2 swords straight to Zoro. The swordsman managed to get them. Although a little upset that Nami kicks his swords without any respect, Zoro thanks her for giving him back his swords, and he defeats the Nyaban brothers by using the Toragari technique. Kuro is still counting the minutes. Usopp and the Black Cat pirates are surprised by the swordsman's attack. Even Django is shocked by it. Zoro said to Kuro that the former captain will be defeated in less than 5 minutes. Kuro is a little impressed. Buchi is still conscious and begs Django to hypnotize him so he will become strong enough to defeat Zoro. Django managed to do so, and Zoro decided to deal with Buchi before he can fight Kuro. After being hypnotized, Buchi becomes stronger and more savage than before. His muscles even increased in size. That surprised Zoro, but he managed to regain his calm and decided to fight him no matter what happens. Meanwhile, Mamie goes to wake up Luffy, who is sleeping beneath the figurehead of the Bezan Black. She managed to wake him up by pressing her foot into his head. Luffy woke up just in time to stop Django's pendulum from killing Nami with his bare teeth while arguing with Nami for the way she wakes people up. Nami learned that Django's pendulum is also used as a weapon. The Black Cat pirates begin to think it will be impossible to defeat Luffy and Zoro since they appear to be very strong. After waking up Luffy, Nami passes out for a bit. Luffy notices Nami's wound. Nami asks Luffy to fight for the village and her treasure, and Luffy accepts. The pirates run from Luffy, scared for their life. While Buchi fights Zoro, Django will deal with Luffy. Kuro said that time is up and he will kill everyone on the North Slope. He is also surprised that Luffy survived the fall from the cliff since he thought that fall would have killed him. Before Kuro could kill anyone, Kaya arrives and begs him to stop. Usopp managed to save her before Kuro slashes her. She said to Usopp that she could not bear to see him get hurt protecting her. She then talks to Kuro and said he can take her fortune and leave the village alone. Kuro said to Kaya he wants more than her fortune. He wants peace. He said despite her plea, the Black Cat pirates will still attack Syrup Village and kill her. She then pulled a gun from her coat and pointed it at Kuro. She threatens to kill him if Kuro and the Black Cat pirates don't leave the island this instant. Kuro managed to lower her guard down by talking about the last 3 years they spent together. He also said that spending 3 years with her was an insult to his pride as a pirate. He takes the gun from her and throws it to the ground. Asa peeks the gun and tries to shoot Kuro down, but Kuro used his Nukiashi to reappear behind the liar with his cat claws gloves on. He tried to kill him to make him pay for punching him, but his attempts were stopped by Luffy, who gave him a Gomu Gomu no pistol, sending him to the ground. Luffy swears Kuro will have a bad day since he hates being punched. As the Usopp pirates come to his aid and beat Kuro as he is down, but Kuro gets up and beats Usopp to the ground. Now, knowing his opponent possessed a devil fruit ability, he decides to personally focus on Luffy, ordering Django to pursue and kill Kaya. Although now incapacitated and no longer able to fight, Usopp orders the children to protect Kaya as she evades Django's pursuit. Although Zoro attempts to aid Luffy, he is stopped by a strengthened Buchi. Although Buchi greatly disrupts the battlefield with his powerful attacks, Zoro uses his 3 swords to cut him down.
Quick reminder, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This recap has been an epic journey through the world of One Piece, but it doesn't stop here. Let me know in the comments what saga theory or moment you'd like me to dive deeper into next. Your ideas shape what's coming, so don't hold back. Now let's get back to the adventure.
God dang it. Sorry about that, y'all. All right. So obviously, it's not ain't nothing really moving still. So didn't really miss out anything. I was man. So I paused it, but let's continue. Excuse me.
Mocks Usopp for his weakness and determination to become a brave warrior, and his crew joins in the mockery. However, Luffy attacks the crew members with a boulder. With Luffy's permission, Zoro leaves the battlefield to help protect Kaya from Django. Luffy continues his battle against Kuro, but Kuro evades each of Luffy's attacks using his Nukiashi technique. Although his crew members cheer on him as their captain, Kuro denounces the title, explaining his intentions to no longer be a pirate captain. When he was at sea, Kuro grew tired of being a fugitive under constant marine pursuit, so he decided to carry out a plan. When his ship was attacked by a marine ship, Kuro entered the ship and slaughtered every marine on board, save for a single soldier. Django hypnotized the soldier and one of Kuro's own men who resembled him.
Yeah.
Under hypnosis, the
Okay.
crewman
I
believed
might see
himself to
some
be
commercials.
Kuro, and the soldier Marines, believing him to be Kuro himself. The Marines arrested and executed him. Kuro was now free to live a more peaceful life, now only needing money inherited from Kaya. Back to the present day, Kuro resumes his battle with Luffy. Using the boulder from before, Luffy manages to break off all the blades on Kuro's right glove. Luffy declares that as Kuro desired to retire from piracy, his ambition was greater. The children escort Kaya through the forest as they hide from Django, and Zoro and Usopp attempt to locate the group. However, Kaya falls ill and is no longer able to run. The children attempt to ambush him with a fake surrender, their weapons.
Co-pilot, I bet my daughter an ice cream that a snail's faster than a slug. Am I gonna win?
You might be treating your daughter to some ice cream.
At 12:07 p.m., you knew nothing.
Their weapons in a falling log. But this attempt fails as Django is unharmed by the attacks. After Django threatens to kill the children, Kaya agrees to sign the will as planned, and in exchange the children would be spared. However, before Django is able to kill Kaya, Zoro and Usopp finally locate her and arrive to her aid. At the northern coast, Kuro reveals his intentions to slaughter his entire crew to prevent any of them from exposing him in the future. His standard Nukiashi techniques fail against Luffy's attacks, so he uses his Shakushi technique, an indiscriminate attack in which he slashes all objects and people in sight at such a great speed he is completely invisible to his opponents. Although Luffy was his only opponent, the attack harms his own crew members, leaving them gravely injured. Luffy is injured by the attacks as he struggles to effectively combat Kuro's ability. Kuro attempts to use Shakushi on Luffy once again, but this time Luffy uses his rubber body to restrain him and prevent him from moving. Stretching his neck back, he uses Gomu Gomu no Cane, a powerful headbutt knocking Kuro unconscious and destroying his glasses. Concluding the battle, Luffy orders the remaining Black Cat pirates to leave the island, taking Kuro with them. Simultaneously, Zoro and Usopp arrive to protect Kaya from Django. Zoro cuts down a tree branch, clearing the way for Usopp's Hisatsu Kayaku Boshi, a fired pellet that explodes in Django's face, defeating him. As he did not want to be known as the village hero, Usopp asks the children not to disclose his deeds to the townspeople. After meeting with the crew to thank them for their help, Usopp meets with the children. Explaining his desires to leave the village to become a real pirate, Usopp disbands the crew, telling each child to pursue their individual ambitions. To thank them for their heroic deeds, Kaya gifts the crew with the Going Merry, a full-sized caravel designed by Merry. Gratefully accepting the ship, the crew prepare to depart, also deciding to take Usopp along as a new permanent member of the crew. Kaya meets with Merry at the coast, where Merry explains Usopp's past. In his childhood, Usopp's father, Yasopp, set sail with Shanks to become a pirate, leaving behind his son and wife. Usopp's mother passed away from illness soon after Yasopp's departure. Now lonely, Usopp became the town liar, hoping his lies would come true and his father would someday return. In the present day, the children assume Usopp's role as the town liar, claiming an incoming pirate invasion. While at sea, Luffy designs a Jolly Roger to represent the crew. After refining the design with his artistic skills, Usopp paints it to the sails. However, Nami spots the island of rare animals in the distance, an island rumored to contain legendary treasures but is divinely protected by the gods. The crew decide to dock at the island to plunder its treasures. However, they are quickly confronted by strange hybrid animals and an unseen man claiming to be a god. After his makeshift traps fail against the crew, he attempts to retreat, but the crew catch him. They discover the man is Gaemon, a man who had been trapped in a box for 20 years. Luffy quickly befriends Gaemon, but is warned of the horrors that lie ahead in the Grand Line. Gaemon explains his past. Formerly a boy aboard a pirate ship, he too arrived at the island in search of treasures, but his crew failed to find any treasure after a month of searching and prepared to leave. Gaemon finally found treasure atop a mountain, but fell off the mountain and into a box where he became stuck. He also found out that his crew had already set sail, leaving him behind. The crew decide to search for the treasure themselves. However, after Luffy climbs the mountain, he realizes that all 5 treasure boxes at the top of the mountain were empty. Luffy decides to invite Gaemon into his crew. Gaemon refuses, stating that he had befriending the animals native to the island. He also states that knowing there was no treasure gave him closure and the freedom to live as he pleased. After Gaemon thanks them for their help, the crew depart, heading towards their next destination. After Luffy finds a box of cannonballs on board, he and Usopp decide to play with the ship's cannons. As they do so, Zoro takes a nap, where he dreams about his childhood. Zoro was a dojoyaburi at Shimotsuki village, challenging local dojos to duels. However, after challenging the dojo of Kushiro, he faced defeat at the hands of Kushiro's daughter, Kuina, and as promised had to join the dojo as a student. After training much more rigorously than his peers, he became strong enough to defeat the adults at the dojo, but was still unable to defeat Kuina. One day, Zoro challenged Kuina to a duel using real swords as opposed to Shinai. Kuina defeated Zoro for the 2000th time. However, she lamented she would never become a powerful sword fighter as she was a woman. Zoro and Kuina promised to each other to train harder and become stronger, and one of them would become the world's greatest swordsman. Both kept their promises and increased their training efforts, but Kuina tragically suffered a fatal fall down a flight of stairs. With Kuina deceased, Zoro decided he had to become the world's greatest swordsman to honor his promise. Kushiro entrusted Zoro with Kuina's prized heirloom katana, the Wado Ikimonji, for him to further his training. Zoro would train for another 8 years before leaving the dojo to become a pirate hunter. Back in the present day, Luffy fires the cannon at a distant rock. They then go to the kitchen, but they find themselves raided by Johnny, Zoro's old friend. Johnny accuses the crew of attempting to kill his friend. Johnny explains that after his bounty hunting partner Yosaku had fallen ill from an unknown disease, they had stopped at a rock so Yosaku could rest. However, the rock was targeted by Luffy's cannon, which he assumed to be a deliberate attack. The crew take an ill Yosaku on board and Nami diagnoses him with scurvy, a disease caused by a vitamin C deficiency. After treating his illness by feeding him lime juice, they bring
With the Amex Gold Card, every meal is a reward, earning you 4 times membership rewards points at restaurants and U.S. supermarkets. That's an opportunity in every bite, sip, slice, and scoop. Whether you decide to stay in or go all out. Earn rewards on everyday meals with the Amex Gold Card.
They bring him inside to rest. The crew decide they need a crew member specializing in cooking to tend to their dietary needs. They decide to stop at the Barity, a ship and ocean-going restaurant. However, they arrive at the same time as Marine Lieutenant Fullbody, who enters the restaurant for a date but orders his men to destroy the crew's ship. Luffy deflects their cannonball with his rubber body, but this causes the cannonball to strike the Barity's rooftop, blasting a large hole in the roof and injuring the head chef, Zeph. As Luffy had no money to pay for repairs, Zeph forces him to work as a chore boy for an entire year to make up for the incident, and he refuses to negotiate with Luffy. Meanwhile, Fullbody gets into an argument with the restaurant's sous chef, Sanji, after the former attempts to place a fly in his soup. After the argument escalates, Fullbody destroys the table, spilling the soup on the ground. For wasting the food he made, Sanji beats Fullbody with his legs, prompting the other members of the crew to enter the restaurant to investigate the loud sounds. Barity's patissier, Patty, denounces Sanji for his violent body.
All right, I'm gonna pause this episode for a while, or the series for a while, and check the charts and do some stuff right quick, and then I'll be back.
Zeph also beats Luffy through the floor above, causing them to fall into the dining area below. While Zeph, Patty, and Sanji continue to argue, Full Buddy attempts to flee, but is informed by his crew that Don Krieg, the most feared pirate in East Blue, has escaped their custody despite being starved for days. One of Krieg's officers, Jin, appears at the restaurant requesting food. Patty refuses to feed him as Jin cannot pay for the food, beating him to the ground and throwing him outside. Sanji decides to generously feed Jin with a dish of seafood risotto, which he gratefully accepts. Watching from above, Luffy invites Sanji into his crew, but Sanji refuses the invitation, stating he had reasons to stay at the Barity. Jin warns Luffy of the dangers that lie in the Grand Line. Jin leaves on his ship to return to his captain. Luffy and Sanji return to work, where the former works as a chore boy, but his clumsiness destroys the kitchen. Patty orders him to become a waiter instead, which disgusts Zeph. Jin, they decide to plan an invasion of Barity. Sanji attempts Zeph. However, fog arrives and the customers notice the arrival of Krieg's fleet. Fearing Krieg's reputation not to attack the ship if fed. Against the wishes of Patty and all the other staff, Sanji agrees to feed him, giving Krieg a bowl of rice. Krieg hungrily eats the food, but staying true to his reputation, once he finishes his food, he betrays the Barity, launching an invasion. Having a damaged ship and 100 starving subordinates, he demands the staff to feed all of his crew members, then vacate the Barity so he could take the ship for himself. Sanji attempts to comply with Krieg's demands, but the other staff restrain him, refusing to give up the ship. Patty shoots him with Shokotari meatball, but his golden armor leaves him completely unharmed by the explosive. In response, gun barrels emerge from the armor, and he opens fire at the kitchen staff. At this
As a new mom and content creator, LegalZoom really helped me out. I use LegalZoom to register.
Zeph decides to submit to Krieg, giving him food for his crew members. Zeph criticizes entry into the Grand Line. Krieg recognizes Zeph as a former pirate known for fighting only with his legs, but notes that he had since retired from piracy after losing one of his legs. Believing he only had the knowledge needed to traverse the Grand Line, Krieg demands Zeph's old logbook to help him return to the sea. He returns to his ship to give the food to his crew, warning the staff to vacate before he returned. Jin apologizes on he explains that the Krieg pirates' entire armada was defeated with 5,000 crew members. Only the flagship containing 100 warrior attack, partially thanks to a storm which carried it back to East Blue. Krieg gives the food to his people, where he explains his intentions to scrap the flagship, seize the Barity, and return to the Grand Line. Shoots a crew member just for protesting this decision. However, before they are able to initiate their attack, the ship is sliced in half with a single slice, revealing that Hawkeyes had followed the Krieg pirates to the Barity. The ship sinks and its crew members fall into the sea. They also find Johnny and Yosaku floating in the sea, who reveal that Nami has defected from the crew, taking the ship with her. Yosaku explains how he and Johnny lost the Going Merry. While their backs were turned to her, Nami pushed them both overboard. Stating she needed to take care of business, she drove the ship away into the sea. They witnessed the Krieg pirates' flagship be destroyed. Zoro recognizes Mihawk, rumored to be the world's greatest swordsman. Mihawk states that he attacked the Krieg pirates simply for his own amusement. Zoro immediately challenges him to a duel, to which he accepts. However, seeing Zoro as comparatively weaker than him, he uses a Kogatana. They begin battle. Despite wielding 3 katana, Zoro is unable to land a single attack on who blocks each of his attacks with his Kogatana. Eventually, he manages to wound Zoro, piercing him in the chest. Seeing Zoro's strong will, Mihawk agrees to use his Mito, Yoru, against Zoro. With this weapon, Mihawk destroys 2 of Zoro's katana, leaving only Zoro's Wado Ichimonji unharmed and further wounding him. In defeat, Zoro allows Mihawk to slash him across the chest, knocking him unconscious. Mihawk deliberately let Zoro live, telling him to become stronger so Zoro may eventually surpass him. Zoro agrees, vowing to never lose another battle before defeating Mihawk. Satisfied with the duel, Mihawk decides not to pursue Krieg, leaving. With all interruptions gone, Krieg is now able to attack the Barity. Luffy orders Usopp and Zoro to pursue Nami while he faces Krieg on his own. Zeph agrees to nullify Luffy's debts if he repels the invasion. Krieg briefly speaks with his crew about his intentions, stating that if he could seize the Barity, its inconspicuous appearance could be used for deception. Zeph's logbook could also provide useful strategies for traversing the Grand Line, as well as information surrounding the legendary treasure, One Piece. This motivates his men to start battle. To prevent damaging the restaurant's interior from battle, Sanji orders a staff member to raise the Finn's 2 platforms on either side of the restaurant which could function as the battlefield. The Krieg pirates enter the Barity's port side Finn. As the chefs battle, Patissier Patty and Charcutier Karn operate the Sabagashira I, a fish-shaped paddle boat, and charge at Krieg. Krieg's armor blocks the Sabagashira's artillery, and he then throws the boat back at the Barity. The boat crashes into the Finn. The chefs charge at the Krieg pirates, but are defeated. Remembering how they were accepted into Barity, Patty and Karn increase their efforts and defeat many enemy forces, but are taken down by one of Krieg's officers, Ironwall Pearl, a man covered in metal shields. Pearl flaunts his record, as he has won all of his battles without shedding a single drop of blood. However, just as he speaks, Krieg strikes the mast Luffy is holding onto. Luffy falls and hits Pearl from behind, causing Pearl to hit his head against one of his shields, giving him a nosebleed. His record tarnished, Pearl enters an enraged state, where he sets himself on fire, which spreads to the entire Finn. Despite this, Sanji manages to strike Pearl several times with his combat abilities, utilizing only his legs. Pearl is knocked back, and he is crushed by a falling mast, knocking him out. Despite the initial victory, Jin catches Zeff off guard, holding him at gunpoint. Pearl recovers from Sanji's attacks and prepares a counterattack, stating that Jin would shoot if Sanji were to dodge his attacks. With this, Sanji has no choice but to take his attacks, as he is struck in the head by his shields. While he is down, Sanji reflects on his childhood with Zeff. As a child, Sanji was working as a cook aboard a cruise ship, which was then attacked by Zeff's crew, the Cook Pirates. The Cook Pirates plundered the ship and beat Sanji, where Sanji states his dream of locating the legendary All Blue. However, the ships were suddenly caught in a storm, and a particularly strong wave swept Sanji overboard. Zeff chose to risk his life, diving into the sea to save Sanji from drowning. Another strong wave then sunk both ships, presumably killing all people on board. Zeff...
I haven't been to the grocery store in months because this delivery service offers hundreds of high-quality, non-GMO groceries.
Zeff attempted to save Sanji, but his leg became caught by the ship's wreckage. Zeff had to cut off his own leg with a chain to set himself free. He then rescued Sanji and carried him to a deserted, rocky island. On the island, they divided their rations amongst themselves and went to opposite ends of the island to spot incoming ships. Although Sanji rationed his share of the food to last 20 days, it eventually ran out and he was left starving for several more days. He confronted Zeff, who held a comparatively larger share, and cut open his bag. He finds, to his horror, that Zeff's share was treasure, and he had given Sanji all of the food. Sanji then discovers that he had also severed his right leg to save his life. Zeff explains his reasoning, stating that he also shared Sanji's dream of locating the All Blue, so he sacrificed his leg so Sanji could pursue the dream. Sanji and Zeff were eventually rescued by a ship, and they would found the Barity raged by the Krieg. After Luffy destroys the Barity's fin, Krieg orders Jin to kill Sanji. Jin hesitates, as Sanji was the staff member who fed his crew. Pearl attempts to kill Sanji himself, but is attacked by Jin, who destroys his front shield and knocks him out. Jin decides to personally battle Sanji as a thanks for his generosity, while Krieg focuses on Luffy. Jin, dubbed the Man-Demon for his extreme cruelty, uses his Man-Demon tactics against Sanji, armed with 2-weighted tonfa. Despite Sanji initially striking Jin to the ground, he quickly recovers, cruelly beating Sanji and gravely injuring him. However, after pinning Sanji to the ground, he is unable to finish him off out of remorse and guilt, because denouncing Jin for his insubordination. Krieg decides to unleash MH5, a lethal poison gas bomb. Krieg's men wear gas masks to protect themselves, the chefs dive underwater, and Zeff retreats to the restaurant's interior. Luffy takes masks off 2 Krieg pirates and gives them to Sanji and Jin to protect them. However, he is unable to find a mask for himself before the bomb is launched. Luffy is left without a means to protect himself from Krieg's MH5 gas. However, Jin decides to give his own mask to Luffy, saving Luffy's life but inhaling the poison himself. He immediately suffers the effects of the poison, causing internal bleeding. While the restaurant staff rush to care for Jin's condition, Luffy battles Krieg. He penetrates Krieg's defenses and punches through Krieg's Kenzan mantle, a spiked cape, hitting Krieg in the face. As his ultimate weapon, Krieg uses his armor's pauldrons to form the Deisenso, a spear which creates an explosion upon every impact. To combat this, Luffy punches the Deisenso's spearhead 5 times in a row, getting caught in the explosion every time, but eventually destroying the spear's head. Zeff admires Luffy for his determination and lack of hesitation. Having masked Gomu no Bazooka, cracking Krieg's armor. Although Krieg attempts to deter him with explosives, Luffy strikes Krieg with a second bazooka, shattering the armor. Krieg captures Luffy with a net, intending for the both of them to fall into the sea and Luffy to drown. Luffy manages to counter this by freeing his limbs, grabbing Krieg's face with his feet, and slamming him into the Baraty's fin with Gomu Gomu no Ozuchi, knocking him unconscious and defeating him. Luffy falls into the sea, but Sanji rescues him and brings him to safety. However, Krieg gets up, now hysterical from his own defeat, attacking his own men. Jin strikes him back down, knocking him unconscious again and preventing him from causing further harm. Escorting Krieg away, he orders a full fleet on behalf of the Krieg pirates, promising to rebuild his crew and eventually meet Luffy's crew on the to retreat. On the Going Merry, Nami laments having to steal the ship, but crying her desires to be free and mentioning Belle Mere. Expelling the Krieg pirates, Luffy asks Sanji to join the crew, to which he refuses. Still, Sanji mentions his dream of locating the All Blue, a mythical ocean where all four seas meet. Zeph overhears the conversation between Sanji and Luffy. The restaurant staff tastes Sanji's soup, and Patty, Karn,
Another morning to savor the crunchy nooks and cranny splendor of a Thomas's English muffin.
Tom, what?
and Zeph all pretend to dislike the soup to prompt Sanji to set sail with Luffy, and Sanji leaves the dining area in anger. Zeph reveals his true intentions to Luffy, and Sanji overhears this from outside the restaurant. He finally agrees to join the crew as their cook. A shark arrives at the Baraty with Yosaku in its mouth. He reports he was unable to follow Nami, but was able to estimate her rough destination, warning of its danger. So the crew prepare for departure, with Luffy packing food from the kitchen and Sanji preparing to move out. Sanji walks out the Baraty in front of the kitchen staff, prostrating in front of Zeph and thanking him for his sacrifices. Meanwhile, the Going Merry nears its destination, an island ruled by a fearsome pirate crew. While at sea, Yosaku reveals Nami's destination, Arlong Park, the base of the most notorious pirate in Blue, Arlong. Yosaku...
All right. And this now, and then I'll kick back up around like 12:30ish. I'm gonna take a little break. It's not really doing anything. Of course, this is really time where I typically have my break anyways, and the price. Let me know what it's doing. Like I said, when I come back around like 12:30. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Make sure everything is this. All right.